Oh man. And we're live. What's going on, Miss Illy? How you feeling?
Hey, I'm good. How are
I
you?
see you got the hair out. I like it. Good job.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Feeling good. Feeling good. Um, so I wanted to talk to you today. I was excited to talk to you because I think we got some pretty cool topics today. And especially with the atmosphere and it's actually been, race relations and stuff. But I don't want to get into like anything, like that. But I do want to talk about interracial dating. I know a
Mm.
lot of times we concentrate on black white, but what I realize is that there's a lot of black Spanish, there's a lot of white Spanish, the Asian, there's so many different mixes, and I noticed that culture comes into play, how people are raised come into play, different scenarios come into play. And I was curious to know, what are your thoughts? And let's leave the obvious. Let's not deal with the obvious. With love is love. We're gonna go with the understanding love is love. We get that. You're gonna love who you love. You're allowed to love who you love. But let's get deep into the meat and potatoes of interracial dating. And let's talk about, is there a culture clash? What happens? Have you ever experienced it? Have you ever gone through it? Do you understand like the difference, or you ever watched, or somebody who's been through it?
No, I have never dated outside of my race. I have talked, outside of my race, but I've never had a full on committed relationship, which I guess kind of lends to my belief that again, love is love, and if you happen to fall in love with somebody from a different race or culture, whatever, but I think for the most part, it just does not flow as easily because it's really more so about the cultural difference, and I think it really is the skin color. You know what I'm saying? Because I could date a white guy that may have had the same experience as me growing up versus a black guy that was raised in Bel Air. You know what I'm saying? So it just makes a difference if you have strong cultural habits, beliefs, practices that could make it hard. Go into the black and white thing. If you have one culture or one person in the relationship who is just experiences life in a different way, than you do, it may be hard to really get a complete understanding, get to a space where you can really like stand with your person, and still stand in your space and be authentic to you. It's tough. It's tough. I personally am not a proponent of it. But I am a proponent of love, and so I don't ever knock it. But I'm not the black men ain't shit. And then like I have a friend who just you gotta find somebody that's not black, and I don't think I could ever be that in any way. I am bothered by men, black men specifically, who date outside of their race because black women are XYZ. That I can't ever vibe with. But yeah, like if you vibe with somebody and you fall in love, then if you guys can make it work, more power to you. But
You did a good job of explaining like the broad spectrum of it. I'm more because I've done it in and out, whether it was black and white, and I've had my experience across the board, or Asian, and it's like I find that it's the little things where the arguments happen. A lot of times it's not the bigger issues, the bigger, things. Those things you kind of understand. You sit there and you're like, okay, let's work it out. You kind of come in with that understanding. It's the things that catch you off guard that are the ones that set off little problems. Like, do we celebrate Christmas the 24th or do we celebrate it the 25th? Which one is it? Are we doing Noche Buena the night before, or are we doing Christmas morning? And all of a sudden that becomes like an argument because now you're looking at each other, and if you're not compromising, you're looking at each other and you're like basically telling the other person, mine is better. You know what I'm saying? And when you do that, people get offended, and all of a sudden a little bickering happens. Then the menu for a holiday. All of a sudden you're like, well, we eat pork. I like pork on this holiday. Da, da, da. Pork. No pork on my fork. We ain't eating no pork. Da, da, da. We got this, and that. I'm like, okay, but can we? And then you try to compromise, but then when the family shows up, the family eats from this half of the food, leaves their food untouched, or their family does the opposite, touches that side and leaves this side untouched. And it's like it creates issues, it creates problems. So I mean, obviously, yes, love is love. I've always believed that, you can love whoever, whatever, right? And I also believe that a lot of times, when people date outside their race, it's usually not about that that's their preference. It's more so at who they're around, who that circle now becomes. You know what I mean? Like I hear a lot about athletes, all of a sudden, or people that make it into money, and I was watching, I don't remember who it was, but somebody was discussing it and they were like, it's not necessarily that they're coming into, they're ignoring black women. A lot of times they get to a certain level and who are they surrounded by? You know what I'm saying? Like they're looking around. So I don't, that's not my experience. I don't get into it. I don't really, make excuses for people because I don't know.
Right.
But, I don't think it's, to use the term, I don't think it's clear cut, black and white, where people are just choosing. Don't get me wrong. I'm like you. I'll never understand why somebody will say, oh, I don't like this type of woman because of this or because of that. And I'm like, I don't get that. Like, why would you shut out a whole group of women because you think, you know what I mean? The stereotype or what you perceive them to be in advance. No, maybe where you're from, that's how they are. Or maybe a group of women you're surrounded by are how they are. You know what I mean? I hear this one though a lot, like, oh, but your mother's a black woman. I have a friend. I got a friend, right? So he was with that I'm only dating white girl thing. And a girl approached him and said, but your mama black. And he goes, yeah, that's why I'm only dating white women. I can't stand my mother.
I was just about to say.
It's on my damn nerves. And I'm like, okay. Sometimes it's like, a lot of times you look for women that so like people will try to tell, oh, you look for women that resemble your family or resemble part of it. But then you also look for women that are almost the opposite because you've been surrounded around a certain type your entire life. You know what I mean? You almost look for that extreme, that opposite, like if your family has a bunch of women that are top heavy, for some reason, you're into bottom heavy women. Or if your women are bottom heavy in your family, you look for women that are top heavy. And I can see how somebody is surrounded by one culture, they get exposed to another one and they jump ship. Oh shit, let me find that out, So here's where it gets complicated, right? Where how people are raised. Or how men are raised, especially, right? So, like, I knew a young lady that was African American, I believe, and she was dating a Cuban young man.
Okay.
By my understanding, Cuban boys are spoiled by their mothers, super spoiled by their mothers. Like they don't do laundry, they don't do any of that. So when you come across somebody who has been raised to be independent, and you're trying to mix them with somebody who is never really done things on their own, is a mama's boy, that's not a good mix. And I could say love is love and you love who you love, but that's not going to work. Like those are the kind of things that I always look at. And I'm like, well, do you realize that? Or even like, money, finances is such a big deal. You know what I mean? So like, I don't think race plays as much of a deal as maybe like your beliefs on finances, your beliefs, maybe where you come from, how you handle money. You know what I mean? Things like that. So when I think of race and dating, here's what I do want to talk about though. You ever notice that when we talk about interracial dating, we always shift to like black, white, or black, Latino? Whatever happens when like Indians and Asians, Indians and like Chinese date? You know what I mean? I wonder if they have those same like issues, same crossover, like cultural problems. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure they do. Everybody kind of
yeah.
Right? And so you touched on something. So you saying that would you ever date outside your race?
I never say never, but I don't think so. Like I said, because I have attempted in that, like, I know I've been approached and I'll give my number and there'll be some conversation. But the vibe is just not there for me. I like black men. I like what I like. So,
Okay.
it's just.
So What about a black Latino man? You know, black but from South America or black from the
Yeah,
Caribbean.
that's the thing. It's not even that I like Black American men. When I say black, I like color.
Oh, okay, so it's the melanin. All
The
right.
melanin, you know what I'm saying? Like even with Middle Eastern, you know what I mean? I just need a little color so that I just, for me, I don't know, it just resonates, and that's what attracts me. I do prefer, if I was being honest, I do prefer black men. Again, because it's just who I am aligned with. You know, I'm half black, half Puerto Rican, but my experience in America has, for the most part, been that of a young black woman, and that I think is who I relate to the most.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Look, that's the thing. I'm always like, I I don't. This is what I don't understand. When somebody says what you just said, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's always a strong reaction, like, oh, like almost like it's like this woke thing that it's like, no, you're not allowed to have
You have
that
to
preference.
right.
You're not allowed to do that. I don't get that. You like what you like. You're attracted to what you're attracted to. It has nothing to do with other people being bad. It's just more so what your preference is. You know what I mean? I don't like to wear shoes. I like to wear flip flops. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's not like because you wear shoes, you ain't shit. But yeah,
Right. It's like I don't mean, oh, you know, Jordans are nice. I
and that's
just
the
don't
thing.
want to wear.
I would never wear shoes, or I'm, not willing to try on some shoes. But I know I prefer flip flops, and that's just what that is.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think everybody's allowed to have that, and which is why even with men that have a preference outside of black women, okay, you know what I'm saying? But when that preference has to be precluded by because black women, da da da, that's when it becomes a problem for me. If you like Latina women, if your experience with them has been that they treat you nice and whatever, hey, by all means. But that doesn't make any other race or whatever your original race is any less important, good, or significant, I think. And that's my only issue with interracial dating, is that I see a lot of times in general, not even in both sides, where people have decided to date outside of their race because they have an issue with their race, or the opposite sex of their race, not because they just genuinely fell in love. And I'm not saying that's the majority, but that's just been my experience that I've seen.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of stereotypes, right, that people fall into. And because of those stereotypes, they're like, there's the one where, oh, these are more submissive, they're more docile, they're more whatever. And you're asking yourself, you're like, I don't know, not all of them. Like, or even with Latinas, you'll get the whole like spicy, like they're very, and I'm like, I know plenty that are not like that. Like, I never bought into that part of the scenario where like you'll meet guys, and this is on my end, like I'll meet guys and they'll legitimately be like, oh, these women are this way. And I'm like, nah, not in my experience. I don't, not all of them are like that. Now, I will go into my experience in interracial dating. I was in a long-term relationship where it was, and it's funny because I'm darker than her, but she was African American. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, is that really, more like cross-cultural
Right.
kind of thing, you know what I mean? And it was funny because it was more like the small things were what caused the little friction, you know what I mean? It was, like I said, it was about the holidays, it was about certain foods, it was about the way I was raised, the way I eat. Like I need rice, beans, or I need some kind of like, it's not a full plate. Like, you know what I'm saying? If I see macaroni and cheese and chicken, okay, where's the, like, there's missing something here, like to me. You know what I mean? Not to everybody, but to me, that's what it was. So there was little things like that. There was like going food shopping. You know what I'm saying? There was the way people approached their sons as opposed to the way I was approached. I have this thing where I don't yell. We don't yell at each other. Our family, we don't talk to each other in a certain way. And don't get me wrong, like I appreciated watching it because you could tell she was working very hard to raise a man. You know what I'm saying? She was working very hard to raise a man, and it was something she was doing on her own. So I respected it. But it was a culture shock. It was like, my mother never talked to me like that. It was always like, Bucky, baby, come here. Let me, very soft to me. And it was cool. And it was cool with me. It didn't bother me at all. So I appreciated it. But there's things like music, the music. Now, okay, like I remember waking up to clean and I would hear Spanish music, right? And it was funny because when they would get up to clean, it was this seven. I was exposed to a lot of R&B I had no idea existed.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's stuff like that. It was crazy. It was crazy. So it was like I didn't find it difficult or like it was this over, but it was definitely the little things, the small things that were always catching me like, what? Oh. And then how do you feel about it's you ever seen an interracial couple and they got jokes with each other? Oh
Mm-hmm.
my God. I've seen interracial couples where they go in on each other using stereotypes
Mm-hmm.
and like they be ripping each other. And people, when they look on the outside, they don't like it. They're like, oh, why is she saying that? Or why is she saying that's not right? Whatever, whatever. How do you feel about it? You think anything goes once you're in a relationship with somebody? Or is it like you still have to kind of go by what society says is appropriate between talking to each
I
other?
think that's a compatibility thing, though, too. Like some people are more easily offended because you might find a couple where that has happened and it caused them to break up. Whereas this couple, it's part of their everyday interaction. So I think that's just a matter of just being in alignment and, meshed with somebody who is on the same vibe as you. I'm personally not easily offended. But if I were dating a white guy, he was like making stereotypical jokes. Yeah, I don't think I'd like that. I don't think I would personally would like that. And I guess it depends what it is too, because there's certain jokes that are like black women in our hair. We have a thing with our hair, and it could get wet. It can't get like that. I'm not so offended by because it does not imply that I'm less than. It's just a thing about black women versus like something about black people being stupid or monkeys. Like a joke like that, I wouldn't, be able. I had this guy that I talked to once. And like he would always want to say like slang stuff, and that kind of offended me because it's like, listen, I don't talk like that. You don't talk like that. Like that's not cute to me, and that was his joke, and it was like, yeah, no, it's not gonna work. So, to each his own. But
How would you handle family members making jokes?
I would ask them to not. Yeah, I would definitely confront it. And
Like
like
you'll see, like let's say, like there's always that stereotype or that you'll always see something like the girl shows up with the salad and she has like raisins in this, and then it's jokes and it's cracking and oh my God, like that's not cool. You know what I mean? Like I found that yeah, when you're doing cross cultural dating, a lot of times it's your family that causes a lot of the
and your family too, and I think that's why it's fair to maybe give your partner a heads up. Like my family, my mother is very accepting and loving of whoever. Like she would probably eat the potato salad with the raisins and do that. But if you have a family, it's gonna be like, who the hell brought the potato salad with the raisins?
Always.
Prepare your partner ahead of time so that hopefully they don't take offense. And then even, talk to your family. Like, listen, I know y'all always got something to say, but maybe not today. Can we just be nice? Yeah, it's rough. Like you said, it's because now it's not just you dealing with your differences. I think the family always plays a part in any relationship. And so obviously the more different you are from the family, they're going to be extra like, what the hell is this? Is he bringing home? You have to deal with that. Hopefully you can get past it, and hopefully the family can be accepting. But if not,
I think a conversation, like I think a conversation does a lot of damage control. Like if you could talk in advance and be like, all right, this is the one cousin, they don't have a filter. They might say some wild shit. This one over here. But I also think it's not easy, man, when you show up into an environment and people are staring at you. You're the odd man out. You know what I mean? And you're looking around like, damn, this is crazy. So I don't think it's an easy thing. But that leads me to the next topic. We talked about like when somebody's a mama's boy, or we talked about when you're crossing cultures and there's something that you might see. It leads me into the next topic, which is about warning signs and red flags. off the rip, off the rip, what is something that you see in a man? And I'm going to address certain specific things later that I want to add in. But what are certain things that you may see in a man off the rip that you feel are warning signs or red flags that you're like, oh, I'm walking away. I can't do it.
Probably the biggest thing is like rigidity, like somebody who has a set of views, whatever they are, you know, and they're super firm in those views and they make that known. That's usually a red flag to me. You know, obviously the basic stuff, he's lazy or not working, or, you know, if he's aggressive, like those are the obvious things. But outside of that, I would have to say somebody that's super rigid and just not flexible, because again, unless you're just a fucked up person or just super trifling, you know, do what you do and be who you be. But, you know, if I don't see that you're willing to flex, I guess, or flow with life and with me and the differences, or like there might be things about you that are fucked up that you like, but this is me and that's just how I am, like that's the thing that I'm talking about. Like I don't operate well with people like that, and that's usually a red flag for me.
Okay, what about something? I'm gonna name some things that I've seen women ignore.
Okay.
And we're gonna play a game called Red Flag, No Red Flag. That's our new game. Red flag, no red flag. Jail time.
Depends on.
So you go ahead. It's not as easy. I told you there's some ones that are like.
I'm gonna say no red flag.
No red flag. Okay, so explain though. Like, what is too much? What is just enough? Like what?
Okay, so generally, if I had to pick a yes or no, so I picked no. Obviously, it would depend what the jail time was for.
Right.
Again, as a Black woman, if I'm dating a Black man, I always have some sensitivity to the fact that the judicial system in America does not support, and it's not set up to protect us and to punish us equally as our counterparts, our non-Black counterparts. So I always take that into consideration. Does the person have any remorse for what they've done? You know, was there reform? Did you learn your lesson? So I think all those will play a factor. But if he's like, yeah, I went to jail because I murdered somebody, that would be rough for me. But if it was because I murdered somebody 20 years ago because I used to be in a gang, but, you know, now I speak out against gangs and you know what I'm saying? I might be able to forgive it.
How much time is too much time?
Ooh, I think it's more so about how long he's been out versus how much he was in. You know what I'm saying? Because if he like I just got a year ago out of doing a 20-year bid, like, oh man, like, so you're just still getting, you know, acclimated to society. Who knows where your head is at? Yeah, but if it was like I was in jail for, you know, 10 years, 20 years ago, you know, I might gonna work with that a little bit, because you've proven that you can now be a productive member of society as well. Like, okay, you did that, you made your mistake, and now but you just got out. That's gonna be a tough one.
So no red flag. Okay, his mom does his laundry.
Oh hell yeah, that's a red flag.
Wait, time out a second. That's a red flag, but I haven't done time is not a red flag. Oh snap! What is going on? What dimension am I living in? All right, go ahead. Explain though. Go ahead. What do you mean?
Because again, it's starting to show mama's boy vibes. Like, I don't think there is anything wrong with a man wanting or having his laundry done for him. Like, I would even appreciate a man that pays a laundry service or a housekeeper over your mom doing your laundry, because then it's just like, how involved is your mother in your life? You know what I'm saying? And am I going to now have to compete with her for space? So that would be my only concern with that. I don't like, it's nothing wrong with it, but if it's like, yo, you know, my mother lives up the street and she happens to come, you know, it's, again, everything's case by case, but it's definitely something that's going to make me be like, and look at a little harder. And it's, again, like the jail time, that's usually one of those things that's not so complex and gray area. Like, if your mom's doing your laundry and you're 45, like there's something going on there.
Okay, all right. So you said red flag. Okay, red flag, no red flag. You're hanging out, Netflix and chill.
Okay.
And his phone gets cut off.
Like, why? Okay, just full disclaimer, like I stay paying my phone bill late, and lately I've been doing better and catching it before it gets cut off. But it never was for lack of funds, just maybe not financial responsibility. Yeah, as financially responsible as I should be. So maybe that's why I don't look at it as bad. It's definitely, all of these things are definitely like, raise the eyebrow real quick. But I don't know if there's something that would necessarily make me be like, oh no, I can't date him because, like, I'd like to understand the backstory. Like, what happened? Why your phone got cut off? Hello, what's going on?
Red flag, no red flag. You're dating 2 years.
Okay.
Girl find out he has a son.
Okay. How old is the son?
I'd be 3, 5.
Okay.
You don't know about it. It's before you. You're 2 years in. You didn't know about it. Red flag, no red flag.
He didn't know about it, or I didn't know about it?
No, he knew about it. You didn't know about it.
Oh,
he
yeah.
never said nothing.
Oh, no, that's a super red flag. Yeah, that might even be a deal breaker. I feel like people that withhold, like the lie by omission, I feel like it's just as bad as a lie if it goes on long enough. It could be like, I could meet you at a pizza parlor and, you make it seem like you like pizza, but then we never visit a pizza parlor again, or we never talk about food again. It doesn't come up. Okay, no big deal, no harm, no foul. But if I meet you at a pizza parlor, I assume you like pizza. I'm making pizza for you every other week. You don't say anything. You're just eating it. Da, da, da. You've withheld that information from me. You're moving like things are all good. You're being deceitful. You're not lying to me about a specific thing, but you're being deceitful, and you're hiding what I think is pertinent information. So, kind
of want to know you got a son in that. All right.
Yeah, and then why are you hiding that? Like, what kind of person is not proud of their seed? Like, you made that. That's your kid. What's the problem?
True. Okay, red flag, no red flag. He tells you he graduated from a university. You come to find out that he was a couple credits short, never graduated. But he votes himself as somebody who graduated.
Red flag. Yeah, you're again, the lying thing. Like, I don't do well to lies. Same thing with the jail time, because you could lie and say you've never been in jail, then I found out you got locked up and I found out you got locked up for like jaywalking or some shit or whatever it was. But if you did time, you know what I'm saying? I would feel, put it this way, a man that lied to me about going to jail, let's say for petty theft or a misdemeanor, whatever it was, some little short time, that would hold more weight to me than somebody that upfront told me that they've been to jail for murder, again, depending on the circumstances around it. But, I think when people lie because they are not fully with themselves or real with themselves, and so they can't be real with you. And so if I can't be real with you, I can't be real with me, and I'm gonna bullshit us both and waste both of our times. And so I don't like liars. No.
Red flag, no red flag. He's been out of work 2 months. Keeps telling you he's in between jobs. Red flag, no red flag.
Depends on the career. I have a friend that does a lot of contract work. IT, gets paid very well for the contracts, but oftentimes finds himself in between contracts for a couple months. You know what I'm saying? So again, a situation like that, all right, I get it. It really just depends why. But let's say you're like a manager at Target or something. I don't know if I did a manager at Target, but whatever, you're a manager at Target and you get laid off. I'm giving you a month, honestly, to find something similar of equal value. But you know what I'm saying? It just really depends on the why. I'm a fair person. I think I like to look at the root of a lot of the issues. And maybe that's why I'm single, because maybe I'm like giving people all this benefit of the doubt out here. But I like to look at the root for why, because there's always a why, and I think that is more important than sometimes what.
Okay, so I asked you a couple questions. Now let's flip it.
But before we flip it, let me ask you, based on my responses, how many of those do you think I'm tripping on, or how many do you think were accurate red flags as a man?
I think they're all red flags.
Really?
And I think you hit it on the head where you give people the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
They're all red flags. Every single one of the things that I mentioned it with the intention of being like red flag, red flag, red flag. Different levels of red flags, but they were all red flags, you know?
So let me ask you, is there something that's in your head as a guy, let's say you're giving dating advice to your daughter, is there a difference between a red flag and an eyebrow raiser? So like the ones that I said were red flags, to me, those are like, holy shit, like there's smoke, there's fire, versus some of the other ones where they were all like, no, but like, you know, what's the story behind that kind of a thing? Like the phone.
Eyebrow raiser, I'll give you an eyebrow raiser. Or the difference between an eyebrow raiser and a red flag. Eyebrow raiser is, there's one sister that always has something critical to say about her brother, which is the guy you're seeing. Mm-hmm. That's an eyebrow raiser. A red flag is everybody in the family says the same thing about that guy.
Right.
That's a red flag. See, so like there's the difference where you're like, you hear something, let me put my awareness on it. And then it's like, yo, there's a little consistency here. He's the common denominator. Nah, this is bullshit. Or a prolonged period of time of seeing certain behavior. You know what I mean?
But then does the severity of the behavior make a difference? Like, let's go to the phone getting cut off example, right? So here's this man that I met, we're dating, whatever it is. Were we on a date or are we in a relationship? In your example.
Let's say date. You're on a date.
We're on a date, you know. He has his own home, or so it seems. You know, he has a car, he has a job. I know he goes to work. He seems as though everything else in his life is in order. That's why I say, like, the phone getting cut off, that's like what's going on here? Like, why'd you forget that?
Yeah, that's the red flag, because it's saying, oh, shit isn't as good as it seems.
But it's a phone. It's not your lights, your internet, like stuff like that. It's like
we could have replaced phone. Okay, maybe I chose phone, that's kind of like whatever. But let's replace it. It could be any. It's okay. So a red flag. See, we kind of like semantics when we said red flag and eyebrow raiser. What I'm telling you is a red flag is I'm like, don't take the foot off the gas asking why that happened. You know what I'm saying? Like when a woman sees something like that happen, hit the gas and ask why. Because what will happen is, this is where women go wrong. They'll give you the benefit of the doubt. They'll give you a bullshit story. You know what it was, man, my check. And because sometimes it makes sense to us because we've been there, we give them the benefit of the doubt. And what I'm telling women is, no.
That, yeah.
Hit the gas.
That's me. Like, I ask them questions. Like I said,
so does this happen often? Like, what's up? Right. Like, what do you know, and you'll be, like I always say, people tell on themselves. Mm-hmm. People will eventually, if it starts to sound like a story, because you know how it goes. I got a new card and I didn't get the check and I didn't do it always sounds like legit. It always sounds legit. But the truth is, no, it's not. It's more so, it sounds like a story. It's a red flag. There's smoke. No, you gotta look, because here's what happens. You give them the benefit of the doubt, and that exact thing rears its ugly head in a different way 2 years down the line. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, now it's the light. All of a sudden, he doesn't have his half of the rent. Let's say he's going at. All of a sudden, he doesn't have his car payment. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. You got to know that early. And again, it's not so much the actual phone being. It's more so like, let me do my due diligence in finding out what the deal is here, what the mm-hmm. situation is. Because first of all, most guys, when they got their shit together, you'll never find out. Mm-hmm. You're never going to find out if shit's going on. You're like, guys are covered, making sure, you know what I'm saying? For they got to just, I don't know.
Well, even with the simple example of a phone, because like soon as your phone is off, you know, so like, nigga, go pay it. Or, you know what I'm saying? If it's not,
you know,
3 days later, like, I'm, you know, give me a second, then yeah.
Yeah, but there's a difference. But like, You'll also see. I always say this one. Uh, I read in a book. It was about watching somebody when they're happy, sad, stressed, tipsy. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like different environments. You watch. So if you see that little like that little extra or that little panic, whoa, red flag. Watch out.
Mm.
See, women will be like, nobody was stressed. Nobody he was, and they'll make excuses. And I find this, right? Men were harder on each other than women are on us. Because a woman will make an excuse
Mm.
for a man. She'll sit there and be like, no, not mine. No, but no, but no. And you're like, okay,
Bitch.
okay,
Right.
okay. And then when it rears its ugly head, that same behavior, that same attitude, or that same thing rears its ugly head later, they're looking around like, but I didn't know. And you're like,
You
you
knew,
didn't
you just
know.
ignored
You
it.
knew. You knew. You know what I'm
We
saying?
want
It's
it to
like,
be true. I think what it is too is like we don't want it to be true, you know. And I can speak from both sides of the coin as an older, more mature woman now, and you know somebody
a
who's
woman of a
dating
certain age. Nah.
in their 20, right, in my 20s, because that whole benefit of the doubt thing. When I was younger, it would definitely just be like, okay, you know, you might ask a question or two. I've had people tell me that I'm kind of annoying because I'll be like, well, you fucked up. And like, so what happened? How you get that? You didn't. And it's just like, okay, you know, leave me alone kind of a thing. But I'm just trying to understand how you got to this level of fucked upness in this particular situation. Whereas my old self wouldn't do that.
Can I tell you, I found that it's the opposite.
What?
I have found that in my experience talking to women, that it's the opposite. That women at this age give them more of the benefit of the doubt because of their situation. Because they're like, he doesn't check all the boxes, but he checks some of them, and he's pretty cool and he's really nice. And then they're almost willing to overlook certain behaviors, and then it shows up. And it's so weird because there's the two sects. There's the one that says, I see it, I spot it, oh fuck, they overreact to it and they move away from it. And then
Right.
there's the other one that give it the benefit of the doubt, and they're like, I don't want to be alone anymore. Like I don't want to be by myself. I met this guy. Like I'm gonna make this shit work at all costs. I'm gonna push forward.
And then you have women that are the other opposite of that too. Like, you know what, I'm not even gonna be bothered. Again, when we're talking about a woman of a particular age, that's like, you know what, I've dealt with this bullshit, so I'm not even gonna put myself in the dating pool. I'll just be single. Me and my girls will have girls
Yeah, they're
trips.
jaded. Yeah, jaded.
And that'll
Absolutely.
be that. You know what I'm saying? It's a slippery slope. I mean, you just never know. I can respect, like to one degree, I respect a woman or person, whoever, who stands firm in what it is that they require from a person. You know what I'm saying? And does not allow any infiltration of that. But then again, it's a little rigid. And so it's like you're gonna just cut every single person out of your life that doesn't meet your criteria, you know, when you could be really missing a good connection. But then, yeah, then you give them the benefit of the doubt, and then they show you exactly why you should have kicked their ass to the curb in the first place. So it's a really double-edged sword we got here. But so
Okay,
your
so
turn.
yeah, I wanna this is actually gonna be really quick. I know you're not ready with the questions or you don't have
Right.
maybe some ideas yet, but we're gonna play a game called we're gonna need a game called Red Flag, No Red Flag. And I'm going to give you whether I'm dating them or I'm in a relationship. I'm going to answer both ways for red
Okay.
flag, no red flag. Okay. So whatever you want to say, you can throw at me. Go.
Okay. She has 3 baby daddies, never married.
Dating, no red flag. Marriage, red flag.
Why is it a red flag?
Depends.
No red
I'm lying.
flag.
I was about to make a joke.
So let's take off the dating one. Let's say your intention is to have a meaningful relationship with this person, whether you just started dating, been dating for a little while, because men are a little different because you'll do whatever.
No. I was about to make a joke. That's why I fucked it up. I was about to make a funny joke, and then I backed out because I was like, nah, don't do that. That's
gonna be inappropriate.
Yeah. It was towing the line. I was like, let me back up. No, okay, so 3 baby daddies. Here's the deal. Circumstances count. I've always had a rule. I stand on this rule. I will stay with this rule. I want to see one thing only. Are all 3 of them on child support? I don't want to hear about, oh, this one's really good dad, so he comes through and he just gives me the money regularly. And this, no. I need to see a full disconnect. This is what I need to see. I don't care what she wants and what she thinks works. That's not up to her. That's not what I'm the one choosing to be here. This is what I need to see.
Wow.
Okay. I need to see ultimate child support. I don't need to see weekend phone calls, you begging for money. Yo, where's my money? You haven't got me the money. Da, da, da. Because all that is your way of keeping in contact. That's not really about the money.
If he is involved, but it's in a harmonious and responsible way? He cuts his check every month. She doesn't even have to ask. Really? Why?
Because I choose not to live like that. I need clean.
You have that right. I guess I'm wondering why that is your choice. What is it that about that not being the case that makes you uncomfortable as a man in a relationship?
Clear cut guidelines. I need black, white, how you handle it, clean. That's just me. I need to know that the interaction is this way. Yo, we could be best friends. We could be buddies. We could be cool. But that is handled this way. Because I find that when the opposite of love is not hate, it's not arguing, it's indifference. It's straight up. Like that is, to me, represents indifference. We're in court. We went. We're not enemies. We established this guideline. This is your clear-cut date when you get the child. If we organize something on the side where you want to see him more often, cool. But I need clear, and this is just me. Again, she could choose to look at me and say, nah, okay, cool. Then you choose your situation over being in a relationship with me. That's fine. You know? I also have things that I need to see. Yo, I was going to say 9, but let's say a hard 10 o'clock is the deadline for text messages and phone calls. You know what I'm saying? A hard 10. It might be a 9, but a hard 10 o'clock. Like, yo, ain't nobody fucking texted my woman. No baby dad texted my woman after 10 o'clock. For what? There's nothing you got to tell her after 10 o'clock unless this kid's in the emergency room. Then you can't tell her at 8 o'clock in the morning. Or you can't tell her whatever. Because to me, that's a form of...
So your thing is really about the relationship that she has with the men, the fathers.
I don't know. I'm sticking to my guns. They could have the best. They could have the best relationship. It could be amazing. It could be literally the best, most harmonious shit. I'm walking in and I'm telling them in advance what I need. Right. It's your choice to take it or leave it. So they could be in whatever. It could work for them, and they could have to look at me and say, "No, Mike, I'm choosing this harmonious situation over you." Cool. Hey, I lost out on a good woman. No problem. But that's just one of those things that I bring to the table. This is what it is. Okay. And this is the time. And this is what I need to see. I don't want to
make that known as soon as you find out they have children.
Yes. No, this is a conversation that happens early. This happens early. Like, I don't play those games. This happens early. This happens with the conversation about, hey, the kid can't sleep in your bed anymore if I'm going to be coming over. You know what I mean? This kid, you know, that head of the table, if you want to give me that head of the table, your son can't sit there. Way before I ever get to your house.
Right.
You know, shit like that. There's things that I do way in advance. So I can't, you know what I mean? So definitely no red flag, but as long as no child support, red flag.
Okay.
No child support, red flag. Yeah, what you got next?
All right. She is over 35, never married, no kids, but has a really good job. And, you know, she's independent. I'm Miss Independent and I'm living life.
Not enough information. Because like I've told you a million times, I don't give a shit what she does.
Well, I've heard men be like, you know, women over 35, you've never been married.
No, they're saying it. They're saying it because... Yeah, they're saying it because there's the stereotype that a woman over 35 that has a job, that's this, that, a career woman doesn't have that femininity, isn't soft, isn't pink, isn't going to, you know, do that side. I can't buy into that. I know too many women personally that are career women that are amazing, that they're, you know, they're over 30, but they have this soft, nurturing, sweet side, and they know how to be like, hey, baby, like treat you like a man. So I can't buy into that. So I'm gonna say no red flag. You know what I'm saying? Now, red flag if all that what you just said with an attitude. Red flag. Because the attitude, the job, all that stuff is not the red flag. It's her demeanor. You know what I'm saying? It's about it, right? It's the arguing, the time. No, I'm not doing that. What do I look like? You know, that's the red flag. What do you call it? Okay. So we talked about, we touched on some of these topics, right? One of the big topics, and I keep going back to this guy only because I think it's hilarious. It's what are your thoughts? Do you believe that women get to a certain age and they settle? Or they have to choose between what they want and settling? Or do you feel like people at a certain age, they adjust and they adapt, and all of a sudden what they want isn't you know what I'm saying? Let me clear my thought up. At a certain age, you might want a Lamborghini. Right? You might want a Lamborghini. Then you get older. Let's say I wanted a Lamborghini. I get older, and now my body, I'm bigger, man. I'm just a bigger guy. My body don't move like, I can't get into a Lamborghini. I don't feel comfortable in a Lamborghini anymore. Now I want a small SUV.
Right.
Did I settle? Or did I look and say, that Lamborghini just doesn't fit my lifestyle, who I am today? You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of the narrative that's been being pushed on like these, and don't get me wrong, I'm with the pro man talk. I like it. I do. I like a lot of it. You know what I'm saying? But then there's some angles that I'm like, I can't really fuck with, because I look at it and I'm like, if a woman goes from wanting a Lamborghini, right, and then she gets to a point in her life where the Lamborghini doesn't suit her life, she stops looking for what she wants and she accepts what she deserves. Is that settling? And why are they pushing that narrative?
I think it's always the root of it. Because if you wanted a Lamborghini and you got an SUV because it fits your body type and your lifestyle better, that's one thing. But if you wanted a Lamborghini and you got an SUV because you've been waiting forever and ever to get this Lamborghini, and it doesn't look like you're getting this Lamborghini, but this SUV is still nice and it'll do, so whatever, that's settling. And I think that's really the main difference of what it is. I think there are women, how, like you were saying earlier, that do get to that point. You realize, like, holy shit, my clock is ticking. You know, I may or may not have kids. I may or may not have been married, like whatever it is that you're looking for. And so it's like panic mode. And so I think some women do settle for things that they may not have initially wanted. Or if you want to call it settling, maybe they become more open to love in different forms. You know, for example, if my ideal is the tall, dark, handsome, you know, rich CEO from New York, because he's a fast talker and I like fast talkers, but now I'm older and I done fell in love with this country bumpkin who, you know, he's still successful and whatever, but he just talk a little different, you know what I mean? Like, so, okay, you know what? I didn't really like that accent. Shit got on my nerves, but he's a good guy. So I'm going to go ahead and, you know, move past that. Like, is that settling or is that just being more open? I don't think, I think that
as you get, I got a question for you, right? So like, see, this is where the whole settling and going after what you want and what you deserve are two different things, right? So which one of those guys is going to hold your hair back when you're dying with the flu, throwing up, and clean up after you?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the question we need to ask. Like, what do I deserve? Do I deserve the guy who has all these qualities that I wanted, but when I'm throwing up, I'm not feeling good, or I have a fever, is looking at me like, yo, I'm going out with the boys?
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say, is that, like, I think what happens naturally, man or woman, you get older, you start to look at life differently. You know, what you thought was important at 20 is not, if that's still important to you at 40, you know, you obviously haven't grown. And for most people, even those that have had very little growth, that has changed. You know what I'm saying? What you want in many aspects of your life is going to change. So yeah, you look at like what's really important. Is it more important for me to have a guy that looks a certain way, or do I want somebody that's going to hold my hair back while I'm throwing up? Hopefully I'm not doing that a lot, but
Men experience it, right? But we experience it with a woman's physical appearance.
Mhm.
That's how we experience it, you see. So a woman will experience it where she has a criteria, and then that criteria has to change, and she has to adapt to who she is at a certain age and what she wants out of life or whatever, right? Where I feel like a man, he adapts that way physically, through his physical, when he looks at a woman physically. So I
Mhm.
remember when I was in my 20s and early 30s, I used to look for what a woman was missing. Oh, she doesn't, or she's kind of, I was very judgy. Like,
Mhm.
I was very particular the type of woman that I was looking for. She had to have right? And then as you get older, you stop looking for what's wrong with a woman and you start to look for what's right. As she
Mhm.
gets older, you start to look like, oh, but she has this. Oh, she has that. And what she's missing is not as important. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? What she doesn't have doesn't mean as much. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I don't look at it as I didn't settle because I actually gained more from what I
Mhm.
have. You know what I'm saying? By the type of woman that I invested in, by the type of, you know what I'm saying? You know, and as you grow, that's what I feel like. I feel like this whole settling conversation. Now, don't get me wrong. Okay, like if you, I think maybe you settled for a drug dealer, something
Mhm.
like that. Like you went and said, fuck it, I can't find no, I'm going to just go far left with it. All right, cool. That might be settling. You know what I'm saying? But as far as like, I just don't see, you get into the conversation of the 50-50 and he paying all the bills and stuff like that. So I see where a woman would be like, I settle for a 50-50 type of guy.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Oh, I settled for a 50-50 type of guy. But then we had the conversation where how many women are willing to do that 100% of the work that we talked about? You know what I mean? So are
Right.
you really settling in that circumstance? Or are
Right.
you kind of just reaching out to what you.
I think it's a little bit of both too, and then it becomes to like what is important as you get older. You know what I'm saying? Like, or what even? Okay, so to get my Kevin Samuels on real quick, like you got to be as a woman, you do kind of have to be realistic, and even in dating in general, because when you start dating in your 20s, you're no most for the most part, you're dating somebody for the potential of what they could be when we're talking about success and all of that type of stuff, because most men especially have not reached the pinnacle of their success, in their 20s. But then once you get a little older, now you're mid 30s, 40s, most of us have kind of settled into life and this is where you are. So as a woman, you go from being the like, oh, I'm as cute and I got potential, I can hold you down, but and hopefully he'll see that, versus now, like, all right, this is me, like this is what I got going on and everything I've been through and da-da-da. And then, you guys kind of have to accept each other for what is and look at that for like what's gonna be. So again, as a woman who I might have wanted my bills paid, but here I am and I meet this guy who's only willing to do 50-50 because he just ain't got it like that or whatever. But our 50-50 combined is still a whole hell of a lot better, than my 100% on my own. So, you just get more realistic about what it means, what you want really means. You know what I'm saying? Me wanting to be with a man that pays all my bills is really just about having the safety and security of knowing that I'm taken care of no matter what. As an adult woman now, I realize that I can still achieve that with somebody going half on the bills, because now we have a combined resource. You know what I'm saying? And I have a person there to kind of back me up in life. And it's just your perspective changes. Hopefully your perspective changes. And at 40, 45, you're not going after the same thing that you were going after in your 20s. Because the reality of it is this: I'd be hard pressed to find a single 20-year-old girl who has a picture of a man that she wants in her head that I'll be like, girl, yes, go for that. You know what I'm saying? Because 9 times, girl, let me tell you something about that guy. You know? So hopefully it's changed, and hopefully you're willing to shift just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I always look at it like the one question I always ask is like, when you're down and out, will that person be there? Because I
Mm.
think that's what it shifts to. It shifts to the security shifts from being money. And I always say this: if a man's primary way of providing safety and security is money, you have to be very careful about where you are
Comes
in
and
your
goes.
relationship. Yeah. Because once that money's gone or the situation changes and you can't provide it that way, see, a lot of men will provide safety and the security part of it through transparency, being honest, trustworthy, being dependable, being the type of man that when she's in a situation will step up to the plate for her and you know, help her get through things. So I say, listen, money is part of the equation. It's not the equation. You
Right.
know what I mean? And achieving that security. Like there's steps, there's levels to this. The men that are truly have their women in love and with them and have their back are the ones that did all the steps, not just skip the step and threw money at them. What I find is that women that got money thrown at them and then end up divorced, one of their main things is you try to fix everything with money. It didn't work. And I always ended up empty. I was empty because after when the love wasn't there, which is what I really wanted, the money meant nothing. You know what I mean? It's the people that don't have it that want to find that out. You know what I'm saying? They're willing to find that out. Like, let me find out that money really means nothing. It really is nothing, but whatever. Yeah, look, we're gonna close it out, man. Miss Illy,
Yes.
I want to say thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Appreciate you always. You know, you're always getting, and the hair. I'm telling you, you're gonna get a lot of compliments on the hair. People always compliment the hair when it comes to you. But I do want to give a couple of my guys a shout out. Shout out to my guys at Fox City Beard. They have out a new fragrance with their beard. It's called I believe it's the Beach. I'll double check. I'll put a link down below for that. Fantastic, amazing. I just put some on. It's phenomenal. It's a brand new product hot off the shelves. And I want to give a shout out to my guys over at Buna Imports. Telling you people, there's level to this coffee stuff. There's nothing like it. Ethiopian family farm, imported, fantastic. Buna Imports. I'll also put the link down below. Guys, please like, share, spread the word. The more followers, the better. The more people join in and comment, the better. We'd appreciate it. And with that, Miss Illy, thank you for everything. Oh, also, guys, check me out tonight. I'm doing 5 questions with my guy. His name is he goes by Dede Carter, but it's Malik. He's an artist, a hip hop artist, and he has a clothing line called Vito. I'm gonna be doing 5 questions with him tonight. He's hot, bro. His music is. I'm an older head, and I'm definitely into him. So check us out tonight, 8 o'clock, with my artist Malik. All right. Hey, thank you for always stepping up, being around. Thank you. All right, guys, and we are out of here.
Yeah.